Good day.
Live. Hey, we got it.
Everyone.
It is Thursday.
Happy Pie Day, March
I, lo-
14th.
I love how you know
Ladies in a circle, not
every day is a like you know what it is to celebrate.
there's always something.
Do you have like an advent calendar or something?
No, it's called National Day of Calendar. And actually, a client today
Okay.
told me about pie since I started the trend, apparently. So she told me about that one. So it goes back and forth.
I love it.
Yeah,
That's awesome. I
fun.
just
Always something
tagged
to
everyone.
celebrate.
Always something to celebrate.
Hmm.
I think that's awesome. That's why I'm a big believer, or I'm a big believer in starting every meeting, like internally with the team, and I mean even client wise with victories. Right? It's just
Hmm.
they're so important to shift mentality because, like, how we want to be and how we are designed to be as humans is very different. Everyone
Right.
wants to be happy. Everyone wants to be calm. However, that is not what keeps you alive. What keeps
Hmm.
you alive is fear. What keeps you alive is essentially panic in a sense, fight or flight. So learning how to control the monkey brain is very crucial. One of the easiest ways to do that is by shifting and focusing on celebration. So I love
Hmm.
that. It's fantastic. All right. So what do we talk about today? What should we do if we're losing motivation during? I think this is so common. You're the one obviously that brought this topic here today, so I want you to talk about it. When you mentioned this to me, I thought this is got to talk about this. This is huge because I don't think I've ever worked with a client that at least at one time during their transformation journey, even if it was over years, that they did not lose motivation. So this is going to be good. Why is this so pertinent to you in the moment?
I feel like when clients get into like the second or third week, maybe the shininess of it all wears off, or the habits are getting a little more ingrained. They're starting to feel a little bit maybe boring, and then they're just losing sight of what they were originally were here for, and that fire that you start with in a race. And we're not
Yes,
doing a race.
that's
We're here for a
true.
marathon.
Right. It's a race that never ends, right? The
Even
difference
better,
between
right?
playing a finite game and an infinite game. If you
Mhm.
guys are here as well, I see your eyeballs. Feel free to drop a comment, say hello. We'd love to see you. Like this video so more people see it. We want this to be interactive. And if you have ever struggled with losing motivation on your journey, let me know in the comments. And if you haven't lost motivation in your journey, you've lied about other things too. Just kidding.
Or go motivate others. If you've got extra, go share the love.
So, Charity, all right, I'm coming to you as a client or I'm coming to you as a friend or whoever. I'm losing motivation. What do you think? What's like one of the first things maybe I should do?
I think to take a step back and look at your bigger picture, like the why that brought you here. So it's not maybe just about the number on the scales. Maybe it's having more energy to be with your kids. Those other little things really matter. And just revisiting that and reigniting that passion that you had and those reasons for coming here in the first place to do what you're doing.
So kind of realign.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like that the feelings that were brought to the surface, maybe let's use clients for example, because all of our clients go through a enrollment call, and on that enrollment call we do two things, right? We do multiple things, but two main things. We dig deep into the pleasure that you're going to experience by achieving the goal. So
Mhm.
all of those things are made to the surface, brought to the surface. And we also dig into the pain. If you don't make this change, what does this mean for like your life? Like what's going to suffer as a result? And
Mhm.
all of those are brought on the surface, i.e., we're motivated,
Mhm.
right? Human nature is always going to be like designed to go towards pleasure and away from pain. So when those things are on the surface, i.e., you're motivated. But as the weeks go on and maybe frustration sets in, like the comment I see, which I want to dive into that comment as well. I'm not ignoring your comment, I promise. Uh, Rebecca, I see it. So we're going to dive into that. But those things then get beat down by everything else that gets piled on top. So either with your coach or yourself, we have to have these rituals that bring it back to the surface, you're saying. So, okay, so let's say somebody buys into that. Okay, fine. I need to bring that back to the surface.
Mhm.
How? What would you do? And we can say in context of maybe they're working with a coach, but a lot of people that watch this aren't working with a coach and maybe never will. Who knows? So maybe some advice for what they can do on their own as well.
think to just go with that ever deepening why. Ask yourself why you want to do this. And I wouldn't just ask you like a surface question, like I said, with the weight. It's not just the numbers, it's also because of the energy. It's because you want to climb a mountain and not be out of breath. It's because you want to feel fabulous in your clothes once again. I mean, the list could go on and on. I think you just have to take the time to sit down and realize it. And I guess I would also caveat this too. Have you been sleeping enough and are you really stressed? Because that can negatively impact motivation as well. So that might be the smaller things, but I feel like the bigger picture why, if you need a vision board or you need some words that really speak to you that you want to move towards, can just again reignite that passion that you had at the beginning.
Really well said with I believe reducing headwinds, right? Getting rid of the stress, or reducing it. And there, of course, we've had podcasts talking about that, as well as improving sleep, because sometimes we're searching for a problem that really isn't there, you know. But let's hit some of these comments too before we dive too deep.
Sure.
Rebecca says, I would say I'm more frustrated than lack of motivation with my journey. So Rebecca, what would be the main frustration you're feeling? Michael says, Michael's new to the group. Welcome in, brother. Good to see you. He says, motivation is not my problem, but works for me. What works for me is goals, set goals on different levels and reward all your goals. Definitely. Charity, I think, is the best I've seen at celebrating victories. she's great. And that's crucial to the journey, right? Why is that so crucial? Well, we already know that the way the brain works is it's always moving towards pleasure, right? So if you do an action that wasn't very painful and yet it releases a lot of feel-good chemicals, guess what? You don't need to willpower yourself to go do that thing again. You are pulled towards it, right? So really well said, Michael. Love it. Easy goals will help build confidence, definitely. And early goals too also not only build confidence, but start to create more of this, I'll say, identity, right? Because it's hard to start when you don't have the identity of a fit person to just change everything and sustain it. But if you can start gathering little evidence for little actions, your identity starts to shift. And ultimately, if there's anything that we're trying to do, it is solve for identity. Because once you change your identity, you'll never go back unless your identity changes again, which it's very challenging to change identity. But it takes time. Rebecca says, my mindset has completely changed, which is the best part of this program. Hell yeah. What week are you in, Rebecca? I feel like you're in like week 20, maybe? No, it might be beyond 20. I feel like that's what comes to mind initially. But yeah, that's wonderful. I'm curious, while we're here, Rebecca, too, what about your mindset has changed specifically? I know you said it's been the best part of the program. You also said my focus of my mental mindset has changed, but the numbers haven't changed. So numbers, curious, just to be clear, the numbers haven't changed on the scale. Has your body changed? Just a quick rant for anybody listening that maybe is more in the beginning stages. It's very, very possible, especially when you only have like, let's say 20 pounds to lose, which I know, Rebecca, you were pretty close to your goal when we first chatted way back when. And when you are so close to your goal body fat wise, in some cases, we gain lean body mass as we're losing fat mass. So I've seen clients that they look at it before and after, and in 20 weeks, they've lost 5 pounds on the scale. And you look at those numbers and immediately we can say, oh my God, I failed. You know, why am I even doing this? I suck, whatever. But we look at all these other metrics, and even just from a physique metric, we can see like, whoa, you look like you've lost 15 pounds. So what happened? Well, really, you've lost 5 pounds net, but you've gained 10 pounds of lean body mass, muscle, water, bone density. Yep. And then that's all. And then also you've lost 15 pounds of fat. But on the scale, it says you only lost 5, so it feels like we failed. So I'm curious if that's what you're experiencing, Rebecca, or is it even just, no, I look in the mirror and I'm not seeing it, in which case, then it just comes down to the science and we need to dial in a little bit more to that caloric deficit, which like, here's the crazy thing to think about. Caloric deficit is the way we lose weight, right? And I know I'm steamrolling Charity right now. So Charity, feel free to like work in anytime. But
No,
just
big,
really
you
quickly,
bring it up to the end.
but just really quickly, I will say, there's been so many studies and I say so many, I only know 3 off the top of my head. So I'm sure there's been more though, of people who track their calories by eyeball in their macros and their food versus actually weighing it. And usually there's about a 20 to 25% difference in what people think they're eating over compared to what they're actually eating. Now, why is that significant? It's significant because the average person, their baseline caloric, we'll say, needs are about 2,000, right, for maintenance. So if you're 20% off, that's the difference between gaining weight, or I'm sorry, but between maintaining your weight and losing it. Because in order to lose about a pound of fat a week, you need to be in a 500 calorie deficit. So if anyone's out there listening at any point in time that is not losing weight and you're tracking your calories, start weighing it and you'll know for sure. Because sometimes when we graduate too quickly to eyeballing, the difference between, like if I had my peanut butter spoon, the difference between like 25% less or more on this spoon is like negligible. It's so hard to even see. So that's just a little note to keep in mind for actual result based. Anything to add to that, Charity?
Nope. Magically said. So true.
Magically. Oh man, you're going to inflate my ego. Okay. So we're losing motivation. The first thing we were talking a little bit about was revisit the why, get deep into that. Because when you first meet with a coach, or when you're starting your journey, usually there's a moment that happens. There's something that makes you go deep into the pain, high into the pleasure. You clearly have clarity of why you want to do what you want to do. But over time, it gets bogged down by all life stressors. So we're revisiting it. Okay, cool. I've done it. What else do I do?
And then I think sometimes we have the misconception that motivation, we need that to do an action. I think sometimes you could do an action to remotivate yourself. So I think that would be take another step, take the next step, just do something, move, whatever it means to you. Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like, hey, leverage a little bit of willpower to get started, right? It doesn't always have to feel natural, right? Doesn't always. Although for long term, we do want it to feel natural. But if you're finding like you're struggling, just get started and see if that's a cure-all. Action generally is the cure-all, but it is sometimes hard to do initially, which is why we don't want to rely on willpower generally. We have Rebecca said, I am stronger and have more energy. Work balance is better. I do have physical changes, which is good. It's just not focusing on the number, which Charity's helped me do. I have to stay away from numbers on the scale. Yes. And you're not alone, Rebecca. I'd say so many clients that I've worked with, or just women in general, or men, or whoever trying to lose weight, it's so easy to quantify all of our success with just this one number, but it is impossible to really quantify everything that matters. And we do our best to go beyond the scale with like, hey, what's your stress level? How are we seeing that trend down? What's your energy level? How are we seeing that trend up? How is your, stress management skills? How's your ability to stay calm through, like, how's your ability to how's your ability to deal with life stressors, meaning to have your emotional resilience increase? So I'm thrilled to hear all this, Rebecca. I mean, that is beautiful. Bridget says, oh my God, Charity has great stress management tips. Yes. Maybe we should do a whole video on stress management, Charity. I think
just did one on NSVs and stuff too. It kind of goes back to what you're talking about with Rebecca and what she's celebrating and stuff. So yay for NSVs, those non-scale victories.
I love it. This is very good. So I got something for what to do when you're losing motivation to add, and that is zooming out. We hinted a little bit before at this idea of, if we want this game, how can I say this? If we want this time to be different, if we want this journey to be different than every time it's been in the past, we have to approach the game differently. This is not about hitting a certain weight goal and getting there. I would argue it's impossible to reach your goal. What do I mean by that? Because once the goal is not to get healthy. That's not the goal. The goal is to stay healthy, meaning it is impossible to reach a goal and finish. The goal is just to keep going. So if we think about it with this mentality, we approach this game much differently. My goal is just to start and never stop again. Like if we were optimizing, and this is what I've done with all my clients, and I know our team does as well, if we're optimizing for anything in this program, it's not results first. I'm going to say it one more time. We do not optimize for results first. Don't get me wrong, you'll get results, but we optimize for one simple thing: you starting and never stopping again.
Yep.
Why? Because if you're doing things that, even if they're slightly less effective, but we optimize around pain and pleasure, so you start and never stop again, you win. Because even if it took you 2 years to get to your goal versus a year and you sustained it, you are winning. And that's what we're trying to do. If we were optimizing for results first, which I'll be honest, that's what I used to do as a coach, but then I would have people coming back to me 2 years later, 3 years later, 6 months later, gaining the weight back. And I always looked at them and I said, oh, well, the problem's with you. I gave you all the tools. That's a shitty coach, in my opinion. But that's who I used to be. Where now the goal is not, hey, let's help you lose this weight so we can get a really great before and after, make us look good. But hey, kind of shove it under the rug, a year from now. Don't post that you gained the weight back, right? Where now it's like, no. Let's start with the end in mind. There is no end. How do we start this game and never stop? And one of the best ways to do that, in my opinion, is by reducing pain and increasing pleasure. If you're losing motivation, usually that's because the actions that you're doing, fundamentally, according to human nature, are too painful and not pleasurable enough. So if you are losing motivation and things are getting stale, either A, and this is a big thing, reduce pain and increase pleasure, or B, potentially work to shift your beliefs. And this is a big one.
Mm-hmm.
If you have gained and lost weight for years, we are conditioning ourselves with social media and all of our past experience that it should feel exciting.
Mm.
Weight loss should feel exciting, shouldn't it? Ride the highs, baby. No, you shouldn't. This should be boring. And I know that sounds funny, but think about life. Is life very exciting day to day? No.
We wouldn't want it to be, though. I don't think either, right? Because most of the time we're in between. We want to see the before and afters, but really we're in that in between space, the during.
Right. So we want to be able to get you to a point that you're just living your life. It should feel normal. If weight loss does not feel normal, you're in trouble. If you are getting excited, and I know this sounds funny, but this is about belief shifts. If we are getting excited about the weight loss, that also means that it matters a lot to us. And therefore, we're going to feel the pain when we don't lose weight. And if we're optimizing for starting and never stopping again, that's a problem. So one of the things that we can get to a place of is this almost idea of adopting stoicism, where we do the action regardless, and we're not tied to the result. Our self-worth is not tied to the result of if I've lost weight this week, right? It's tied to, did I perform my actions? And I know that sounds funny, but what we're trying to do is create the recipe for starting and never stopping again. So I know I just got in a soapbox for a little while, but hopefully it helps somebody out there. Cool. Anything to add to that?
I think there's a yoga philosophy about that and practicing and showing up. And it's not when you give a gift, it's not for the other person to say thank you or anything else like that. The gift was in the giving and how you did the action. And that's where the really goodness comes from, not anything that comes after. And they have a more eloquent way of saying it, like with your work and just the actions that you do. You don't get to decide the outcome or what happens, but you did what you were supposed to do. You showed up the way you needed to.
Yes. Well said. I will say too, just so I'm not, finishing without actions here. So we talked about reducing pain, increasing pleasure. Okay, how? I'll give you some examples. So let's identify what is an action that you don't feel motivated to do, right? Like if you're listening right now, I see the eyeballs out here. What is an action that you may not be feeling motivated to do? Exercise related, nutrition related, sleep related, whatever. But we'll use one before we wait for comments to come in about exercise. Let's say you're not feeling motivated to exercise. You get home from work and you're looking and you're going, oh, man, I just really don't want to do this exercise today. That means there's too much pain associated. So the first thing we should do is identify, how can we reduce this? And we can reduce it a couple different ways. Now, we're not talking about increasing pleasure. We're just talking about reducing pain. What about this action seems painful? Well, it's the fact that it's going to be 45 minutes. That's a long time. Well, what if it was 20 minutes? Oh, yeah, I mean, if it was 20 minutes, I could probably be more motivated to do that. Cool. You're reducing pain, therefore reducing the threshold of what it would take for you to take action.
Mhm.
Well, maybe that's too much. What about 10 minutes? Here's a really amazing thing that happens. If you can optimize for getting started, not for results, for getting started, and you say, look, my goal, my rule is 5 minutes. Just going to do 5 minutes.
Mhm.
You will most of the time do 10, 20, or 30.
Mhm. More
It's
than you're
just
expected.
about, you have to break the inertia,
Mhm.
right? So if you can optimize, and we were going to talk a little bit about priming environment for this reason on this call, but I think we're going to wait until next week, but it all goes together.
Mhm.
If we can aim to reduce pain, to increase your ticks on the calendar, it's less important that you did an hour workout today, but then there's a less likely chance that you do it again next week, or a more intense workout today, but then your adherence goes down, you sticking to it. And what's more important is that you do 2 minutes every single day for the rest of your life. Why? Because you can scale up from 2 minutes.
Mhm. And you
But it's
created the
really,
habit, yeah, and sticking with it, and then just add to it and make it better.
and self-esteem is a big part of this game,
Mhm.
where it's like, if you do 2 minutes and then you move up to 3, you feel good about yourself. I'm doing
Mhm.
50% more, or I'm doing 4 minutes, I'm doing double. But if you start doing 45 minutes 3 times a week, you feel like shit when you miss a day. Oh man, I guess I'm not serious about this. And the brain starts playing tricks.
Mhm.
Man,
Mhm.
maybe why am I doing this? Maybe this isn't worth it. I didn't even lose any weight last week. So why am I even working so hard? Maybe I should. And now we're fucked. Right? So this
Mhm.
is this is a mental game. Like,
Mhm.
this is not the mechanics of weight loss are very simple. Very simple, right? I have videos in this group that if you just follow like 3 different videos, you will lose weight. The problem that at least I've seen, and maybe you're different, but chances are probably not, because you're a human, and all
Mhm.
of us humans have these things called emotions. If you are struggling, it generally is a psychology, mental space challenge, either something around beliefs, something around habit, something around pain and pleasure, whatever it is. The good news is you can solve it. And
Yeah.
I think that's one of the most empowering things from all these calls, is the fact that no matter where you are, or where you've been, or what your hormones are doing, or what doctors have told you, you can make progress. Now, I'm not here to say, like, if you have a genetic disorder that you're going to have abs. I don't know that much about you at this moment in time. So I cannot say generally yes or no, but what I can say is we can improve your situation. You can improve your situation.
Mhm.
You have that
Mhm.
power.
Yep, you need to believe in your ability to change and make choices.
And victim mentality is like really easy to fall into. And I know that because I've been there.
Mhm.
Not to tell you guys my life story, but I was in a 7-year relationship that I got out of, like, 5 years ago. And man, I was playing the victim, because I told myself the story. She took all these things from me financially, and my dog and things like that. And I was being a victim. But guess what? So was she. But it was immature. I stayed in victim mentality for about 6 months. Guess what I did during those 6 months? Or I should say, guess what I didn't do? Grow.
Mhm.
Because how can I improve? It's her fault I'm the way I am. It's her
Mhm.
fault I feel this way.
Mhm. And take personal responsibility.
But guess what? Yeah, when you point, you're pointing one finger, but there's three, four fingers pointing back at you.
Mhm.
Extreme ownership. If you want your life to change, take ownership. You are where you are because of you, not
Mhm.
because of what's happened to you. Granted, has that played a role? Yes. Are you entitled to, feel the way that you're feeling now? Yes. I'm just saying that potentially feeling the way you're feeling now is not serving you.
Mhm.
So if you want to feel better and you want to change your life, everything is your fault. And I know you can take that to an extreme, and you could say, like, oh my God, my dog got out and got hit by a car. That wasn't my fault. Well, who reinforced the fence? Well, I didn't do it. I paid somebody to reinforce the fence. Cool. But you paid them. You could have vetted them better. You could have double checked their work, right? I know this can go into extremes, but I'm a big believer that anything that happens in my life is on me. And that could be looked at as, oh my God, that's so much pressure. It's so much power,
Mhm.
because that means I have control,
Right.
right? And
Influence
you
for
can
sure.
take that out of context a lot of different ways, but
Mhm.
ultimately, that's a belief that served me tremendously.
Mhm.
Anything to add to that, Charity?
Yeah, what is that quote? What the body achieves what the mind believes.
Yeah, beliefs are everything.
Mhm.
Every if you want to have one equation to change your life, not just fitness, anything in your life, any area, finances, relationships, your mental state, your emotions, whatever, there's one simple equation, or I should say sequence. So if you're taking note at home, you might want to write this one down. I have it 3 different places in my house, and that is input, or I should go to the side. Input changes your thinking, which changes your actions, which change your results. A lot of people, they start backwards and they go, I want to change my results. I want to get in shape. Great. So what do I have to do? I have to change my actions. So they look at the actions and they say, okay, I need to start eating better, sleeping better, doing all these things. Go. And they get a little result. And that's great. But then eventually their thinking, pre-existing, doesn't change. So they get stuck and going back into old habits because their thinking never changed. But their thinking never changed because their input never changed. We're the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, or who you hear. Who do you listen to the most? Maybe you're not even aware of who you're listening to. But is it a family member? Is it the news? Is it a person on a podcast? Like everything that goes into your sensory organs, right? I mean, your ears, your eyes, your touch, you're taking it all in, and all of that influences how you think today. If you want to change your results, change your input. And that is why I will die on this soapbox. And I will say, if I could work with anybody for 1 year and I had the opportunity to change their thinking. So by changing their input, changing their thinking, and all we did every single day was just reinforce the belief of what they can do and how they can do it versus just snapping the fingers and getting them to their dream body. If my goal was long-term results for this person, and the first person where all we did was change their input and their thinking didn't lose a single pound and they needed to lose 50, I would every single time, if my goal was to help them really, not for 6 months or a year, but to help them for the next 5, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, potentially even transcend and trickle downward to their children,
Right.
I would change their input and their thinking. This is why liposuction does not work. Because all you do is change your body, but you haven't changed the thing that created it in the first place.
Yeah.
This is why Ozempic doesn't work as a weight loss aid. If you got diabetes, it works, right? But it's for different reasons, right? You have to change your mind. That's where the power is. And my life changed when my input changed. And that's what this group is for. It's to change your input. But I'll tell you what, it's not sexy to get on here and listen to us ramble for 25 minutes or 27 minutes. Look, there's no cuts. There's no flashy stuff going on here. There's no like spinning the wheel for stuff you're going to win, whatever. It's not sexy. But the reason that we don't get on here and say, here are your action items, go, and it's 3 minutes, and we go on for 20, 30, 40 minutes is because if you really want to change your thinking, you have to change your input. And the mother of learning is repetition. You have to hear it again and again and again and again. We need to be reminded more than we need to be taught. I'm not on here. Look, I'm younger than the majority. Like I have less life experience than the majority of people here. We help, women generally that are 28 to 64. I'm 31. You guys got me beat. You have more kids than me. You got more life experience than me. But we're still not where we want to be yet. And that's just because we haven't gotten reminded. We haven't gotten reinforced. So anyway, that's my big ramble. Woo!
Well, just think of the things that this is exciting and you have things to celebrate. You're not stagnant. You're not stuck. You have this opportunity to change and make positive choices in your life. It's fabulous. And take the power back.
It's empowering, man. There's nothing better in my experience as a coach. There's no higher high, talking about highs and lows, getting full body chills than hearing a client say, like Rebecca said earlier, my mindset changed, right? I look at things differently.
Yep.
There's this famous quote that says, change the way you view things and the things you view at or look at change, right? Change the way you look at things and the way you look at things changes. It's powerful to think about. When you change the thing between your 2 ears, which isn't as easy as just changing action, you have to change input. Everything changes.
Yeah.
So it's very empowering. Rebecca said, I have a small goal, like 5 to 10 minutes, then you can add on 5-minute increments and you're doing it. And then before you know it, it's 30 minutes. If you can't add more, You did some exercise rather than none. Exactly. Sometimes we just set the bar so high for ourselves in the beginning, we set ourselves up to fail. Because again, if we're trying to build habit, we need to feel good about what we're doing. And I would rather, like, think about this, for example, if you set the bar of like, hey, I'm going to exercise 5 minutes a day, and you do it, and then you do 10, you go, oh my God, I'm a stud, or I'm an amazing, I did 100%, I did 2x, I'm awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Now it gets a slippery slope when now just next week, the standard's now 10 minutes. No, keep it at 5 and keep maybe a little bit here and there, but then at 5 minutes, just keep it the same, right? Just keep it the same. It's okay. Like, this is a long-term game. Zoom out and look at over the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years. This is like, if we stay too zoomed in, we look at the month because we're trying to get ready for April because we have a baby shower or whatever. We want to look good. Maybe not a baby shower, but that's a bad example, but we're going to the beach or vacation. If we stay too zoomed in, it's easy to, I'll say, have too many highs and lows. But if we zoom out and we look at the big picture, we're going to be on this game for a while. Like Charity said, this is not a sprint. This is a marathon, but this marathon's not 26 miles. It's 26 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually more than 26 years, but yeah, like, it's a long time. And I'm not saying that's going to take you 26 years to hit your goal. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But how long are you going to sustain your goal when you do hit it? If you're out there and you want to lose 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, let's say you do snap your fingers and you hit your final goal. Okay. How long do you want to stay there? Forever. Well, what's forever? Let's put it into terms. How many more years do you think you're going to live? 40? 70? Whatever it is, zoom out. Look at the big picture. The more you look at the big picture, I promise you, the better that your process will be, the easier your journey will be, because when you're zoomed in, 1 pound up, 1 pound down looks like this. And that's emotionally jarring. Mm-hmm. But when you zoom out on the total picture of 40 years, 1 pound up or down looks like this. Did you see the movement? Nope. It doesn't even fucking exist. 10 pounds looks like this. It's just so small. And sometimes we make mountains out of molehills. We feel the emotion, and emotion is what controls us, good or bad, right? So if you're out there, the point of all this is just to give you some ideas that maybe you already know, but reinforce them, because the mother of learning is repetition. And just to give you the belief that no matter how many times you failed in the past, this time can be different. Mm-hmm. You can be the person you want to be, not just physically, but emotionally. You can enjoy life. You don't have to be angry. You don't have to be bitter. You don't have to blame someone else for why you are where you are. You can change and you can grow. We're here to support you if you want us to, with coaching and stuff like that. But look, even if you never use coaching and all you do is just come and stalk in this group and like the post and comment, cool. That's fine too.
Right.
Because this is, I can't see myself ever stopping doing stuff like this, because this is what enriches me. Like, I feel good talking and sharing what I really believe in, So this is it's good stuff.
Fabulous. You guys have permission, be empowered, make choices, make changes. It's all going to be good.
Permission is big too. Mm-hmm. Permission's big. I'd say so. Sometimes, again, we go to a coach because we want the permission that we are allowed to start taking care of ourselves. Mm-hmm. You don't need a coach to get permission. We're giving you the permission right now. If you are an overgiver, if you pour from an empty cup and are not taking care of yourself, because a lot of your self-worth comes from taking care of others, we're giving you the permission to take care of yourself. You're worth it. And plus, when you do take care of yourself, you're actually able to give a lot more to others. Maybe not in total time, but in more quality.
Yes.
You're showing up way better with quality.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're out there,
you got this.
You got it. We're here, whether you're a client or not. But with all that in mind, any other closing thoughts, Coach Charity? Like this video, comment, and
have a good day. Happy Coffee Day.
Share it with your friends, but I don't think you can share stuff in groups. It's pretty locked into our community. So cool.
All right, have a good one.
And hey, We passed 8,000 RNs this week in the group. How crazy is that? I think actually we're about to pass 9,000, which is crazy.
Oh,
Like in a week,
nice.
ridiculous. But
Fun.
it sounds crazy because at the beginning of the year we set the goal of wanting to help 100,000 RNs and healthcare workers like transform in this group. I did not think we'd already be at 8,700 by March.
Mhm.
That's like, if we keep
Awesome.
going at this rate, we'll be at like 20,000 by the end of the year.
No, remember though, you said you're supposed to low bar it again, so come back
That's
to the
true.
baseline of 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's right. One new RN in the group per day is all we're looking for. All right,
Yay,
good
so
stuff.
happy to have all of them with us. Thank
All right,
you.
guys. Looking forward to continuing to serve you. If you need anything, let us know in the comments below. We come back and read the comments and answers and stuff like that as well. All right, see you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.